Thank you for that. Senator, how were you possibly to have vetted the NLRB putative appointees given when the names were submitted to the Senate?
Yeah, thank you for raising that, Congressman Gowdy. With regard to two of the appointees to the NLRB, their names were submitted just right before the Christmas holidays, and just days before, in fact. And as a result, they had not gone through the committee process. They hadn't been vetted by any committee. We hadn't had time to set up a single committee hearing. And so that in and of itself ought to draw attention to the legitimacy of the procedures, the legitimacy of the constitutional analysis that led to these unconstitutional recess appointments. It really is a stretch, to say the least, to say that any of these are legitimate recess appointees, and particularly so with regard to those. This underscores the point. This was not justified, cannot be justified by the fact that inevitably in any Senate confirmation proceeding for any nominee there may be some delays. There have been under every administration, in every Congress, in every Senate that I'm aware of ever. And the fact that that happens doesn't mean that the President can just ignore the Constitution. But that's especially so where they were given to us just days earlier, and we didn't even have time to vet them.
So you get the names on December the 15th, and what, 2.5 weeks later, he makes a recess appointment and says that the Senate's not doing its job?
That's correct.
And with respect to the Republican appointee to the NLRB, could Senator Reid have set that for a vote? I'm not familiar with how the Senate works, but that name had been in the Senate for some time. It strikes me that if Senator Reid were concerned about whether or not there was a quorum on the NLRB, he could have set that, and he did not set that.
As the majority leader, he does, in fact, control the Senate schedule and the Senate vote schedule, and he could have set that for a vote, and yet he did not. And that opens up another issue, which is that at any given time, we can even do these sorts of things through a pro forma session. We have on occasion approved people by unanimous consent in a pro forma session. And that has been done in the past. It could have been done at the time. The fact that it didn't occur hardly means that we were not available to act on these.
Well, as I shared with you before, Congressman McHenry was so gracious to give me some extra time, my real concern is whatever we decide this analysis is going to have to be equally applicable whether we like who the President is or we wish we had another one. So it just strikes me that we have created something of a ratchet, because once you define it, it is very hard to expand it once you limit it. And it now seems to me the rule is we're going to give you 2.5 weeks to vet our nominees, and if you don't, then you're not doing your job. And if you're out for 3 days, that's a recess. And if we like the laws you pass, like the payroll tax extension, then you're not in recess. But if we don't like what you've done, you are in recess, which the political gimmickry, the Constitution really should be immune from political games. So can you speak to how you were in recess, but yet you also passed this payroll tax extension upon which the Republic hung in the balance, if you listen to the rhetoric? How could you pass that, but yet still be in recess?
Well, of course, we couldn't. We had to be able to act, and we did, in fact, act. And we acted on December 23rd, 2011, to pass that into law. The President demanded that Congress act. The President subsequently praised the Congress for moving into action quickly. He signed that legislation into law promptly. He recognized the legitimacy of Congress's actions, notwithstanding the fact that they were conducted, at least on the Senate side, in a pro forma session on December 23rd, notwithstanding the fact that previously we had anticipated that there might not be any formal business conducted. There was. And that indicates the fact that we were, in fact, open for business, as we were required to be under the Constitution, not having received the consent of the House of Representatives to adjourn for a period of more than 3 days. This emphasizes my broader point, which is that my concern is neither Republican nor Democratic. It is neither liberal nor conservative. This is politically ecumenical. This issue is simply an American one. one rooted in the rule of law and the U.S. Constitution, to which we've all taken an oath. It is that we can't, as an institution, as a country, afford to allow one person to exercise power that does not properly belong to him, that the people have not properly given him. And that is what happened here. So I will be just as hard on any Republican president who dares try this nonsense as I am on this president.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and the gentleman from North Carolina.